You can spin up an AI-powered chatbot in n8n and embed it into your website in under 5 minutes. But the real value comes when you connect it to your systems, right? So what we're going to do in this session is that we are going to build an AI-powered chatbot that is able to pull live data from your database, is able to schedule meetings and check your calendar all in real time. So let's say we have a website like this one, right? And this is just a sample database, or rather a sample website that I have created. Let's say we have a company that is working in the manufacturing industry, right? And they have a chatbot in the bottom right corner. And as you can see, if I click on this, then it is greeting me with, "Hi, I'm Script Assist, ask about parts codes or meetings, and I'm the Script Manufacturing Assistant," is the first message. "How can I help you today?" Right? So this is all there is, and we're going to test this in a second. And let's say that I have a database like this one, and you can imagine that this would be like the availability and the stock, right? And the pricing of each of those products that this company has in the backend, right? And we have a customer and he wants to know something about a very specific product, right? And how the agent will be able to answer all of these questions. So let's take a look into the site again. And I'm just going to say, first of all, I'm just going to say hi, just to see how it responds. And the first thing that I get is that, first of all, it says, "Hi, welcome to Script Manufacturing." So it mentions the company name, right? And then second of all, it is telling me what it is able to do, right? Here are a few things that I can help you with, basically. And this is already quite helpful. So let's switch over to the database itself, and let's take one of these products, right? So if I, for instance, ask it about, I don't know, one of these products, let's say Hexnut M4, I don't even know what that is. This is just a sample database that I created in ChatGPT, but there's a lot of data right here. And let's just say that this is a product that I want to have more information on, and I'm going to ask it, "Hi, do you have," and I'm going to say hex nuts, and then ideally in M4 or something, right? And this is the message that I'm sending. All right, and now we have the answer, and yes, we have Hexnut M4 in stock. Details: item Hexnut M4 ISO 4032 and stock in hand 727 pieces. And let's take a look into the database if that's actually true. And we do have 727. That's actually correct. And then also the ISO numbers are correct as well, right? So as you can see, the data that we got out of this chatbot definitely are correct, and this is already quite helpful. So let's ask another question, even if this might not make sense in this context, but still, because we want to test out the features of our agent, right? So let's say I'd like to have an appointment, let's say tomorrow at 11 a.m., right? And I'm going to send it. And in the meantime, I'm going into my test calendar right here, as you can see. And here you can see that I have basically a blank calendar, but today is the 8th, and tomorrow I already have a blocker, right? And this is a meeting blocker from 10 to 12 p.m., right? So let's see what the agent will tell us about this. I'm going to switch over again, and these are the responses that I just got, right? Tomorrow at 11 a.m. is already booked. There's an existing meeting from 10 to 12. Obviously would need to prompt the agent that he doesn't give away any internal data, but yeah, still the data itself is correct, and he is offering me alternatives to this, right? So I'm going to take the 9 a.m. slot. So I'm going to say, all right, 9 a.m. it is. Going to send this again. And he even confirms, all right, tomorrow works, but I do have a couple of more details that I want to ask. So I'm just going to say 30 minutes video call, and may I have the name? My name is Aziz. All right, and now it's telling me all set. Your 30-minute video call for tomorrow from 9 to 9:30 is booked, and a calendar invite was created. All right, so let's take a look into the calendar. And now you can actually see that we have this very call, right? So this is the meeting that it just booked, video call with Aziz, Script Manufacturing. All right, so this is how it works, and how we can build this is something that we are going to go through together right away. All right, so let's see how we can build this together. So the first thing is that we want to start out with a chat trigger node, right? So if you open up the trigger panel, then you can see that down here we get the on chat message. And if I open this up, then first of all, by default, the chat is not made publicly available. And this is something that we want to do, right? So we are going to make it publicly available. And right after this, we are being presented a URL. And this URL is something that you can use right away out of the box, basically, right? Now, the second thing is that we have to basically decide if we want to use a hosted chat, which is being hosted by n8n, or if we want to embed the chat into our own website, right? And these are the two options. And I'm going to call this very URL that we have just received, right? I'm going to copy this into my clipboard. I'm going to close this, I'm going to open a new tab, paste the URL in. And now you can see that this is the interface, right, that we get out of the box. Now, this might not look as pretty as the one that we have seen in the demo, but we will get into that as well. But this is already a working agent or a working chatbot, right? Now, it's not fully working yet. However, we do need to add an AI agent after this, right? So we do need a model, obviously, and we do need some instructions and a prompt and everything. But right out of the box, you can already use it from an interface point of view, right? So I can just say hi, and then I get this very weird looking message, but this is all fine. We're not done with the flow yet. Back to n8n. And first of all, I'm going to open this up again, and I'm going to change it again from hosted to embed chat. And now I'm going to click on this here link right there, and I'm going to land on this very page. And this is the documentation for the chat trigger node itself, right? So if you want to get into more depth, then this is exactly what we're going to get. Now, the most important part is the node parameters, and then within the node parameters, I'm going to jump into mode, right? And this is exactly the dropdown that we have just selected. So within the mode, we have embedded and hosted chat, and these are exactly those two options that we can take a look at here. All right, now the embedded chat is telling us that this requires us to create our own chat interface, right? And that we can use n8n's chat widget. And this is exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to click on chat widget right here, and this leads me to this very page, which is npm.js, which is called the node package manager, right? And we don't need to get into too much detail because the only thing that we need from this very page is actually just a tiny code snippet. So if I scroll down here, then you can see that we have this part of installation. And if we take a look at the very first sentence right here, it is telling us that we need to open up the webhook node within n8n and then replace the your production webhook URL, which is this value right here, with our actual webhook URL from that node, right? And if you remember, if I jump back, then this is exactly this one, right? This is the webhook URL we need to work with. All right, back into the docs. And if we take a look into this very tiny snippet right here, then this might look a little frightening or a little complicated, but this is actually just a link to a style sheet, right? And this is a style sheet that's basically the base style sheet or the default template that everybody uses. We can change this, right? So if we are able to produce CSS documents, then we are able to change this. Now, the next part is actually where the magic is happening in regards to launching this very tiny bubble on the front page, right? On the front end. And this is already it. So the webhook URL is the only part that we actually need to change. All right. Now, what do we do with this tiny snippet right here? What we are going to do, or what we need to do, is that we need to add the following code into our HTML page. Now, if you own the page yourself and you are able to access the HTML code yourself right away, then this is perfect. And I will get to this in a second. However, you might have used something like WordPress or Cart or Squarespace or Wix or any of those website builders where you are working with drag and drop modules, basically, right? And I have prepared this page right here, which is just a test page on WordPress itself. And you might have worked, or you might work with something like this, right? Where you have drag and drop elements that you can just put onto your site, and you have texts and images and whatnot. However, in most cases, chances are high that you have something like this very last element right here, which is a code block, right? And if you drag and drop this very code block onto your site element or onto your content, and if you open this, then you have this very input field, right? And this is the part where you would just paste in this tiny code snippet right here. So you can literally just copy and then jump over and paste it right here. Obviously, again, a reminder, you need to replace this webhook URL with your webhook URL from your n8n chat node, right? So I'm going to take this chat URL, I'm going to back into WordPress, and I'm going to paste it right in here. And now this is already done, right? So there's nothing left for us to do. Now, if you have access to the HTML file itself, right? And if you're a little more familiar with code itself, then I have prepared this one. So let's say that we have an HTML document right here, and I'm going to expand this again. And then we have a head and we have a body, right? And then within the body, if I open this up again, then you might see something like the header and then the main content and then the footer. And the ideal place for you to paste this very code snippet is right before the closing body tag, right? So if we have a body element, an HTML body element like this one, this starts right here and it ends right down here, then the ideal place to paste this code snippet in would be the right in front of the closing body tag right here, right? So if I jump back into the npm.js docs again, and then I take the snippet again, going to copy it again, I'm going to back into my HTML file, paste it right in here, and then replace this URL again with the one from my flow, going back into the HTML doc again, paste it right in here, and now we are already done, right? So you just need to save it, this very document, and then it will load instantly and will be connected to your actual flow, right? And that's already it, how you can implement it into your website. All right, so let's jump back into n8n again. I'm going to close this window as well. And now we're going to get into the fun stuff in regards to building the AI part, right? So let's say that we want to add an agent right now. And this is exactly what we are doing here. So I'm going to paste this right in here because I've already prepared this, and I'm going to connect it right here. So what I'll be looking for when I click on this plus icon right here is within the AI section right here, I am going to choose the AI agent. And now I'm actually presented with, first of all, the source for the user prompt, right? And then also I want to add an option and then add the system message. So I have the possibility to add the system prompt itself, right? So because by default it just says you are a helpful assistant, right? And I want like to get into a little more detail in regards to this. All right, I have prepared a prompt right now. I'm going to select this and paste this very prompt in here, and I'm going to open up the window here so that we can take a look at this together. So first of all, same thing, right? You are a helpful assistant, first of all, and then the second thing is you are placed as a chatbot on the front end of the public website from the company, script manufacturing, whatever, right? Your main job is to answer incoming questions from customers. You have the following tools available, and this is in regards to prompt engineering a quite important part when you are working with AI agents, right? I have talked about AI agents in the past, and I'm going to link to them in this video as well if you aren't familiar with the basics, because it helps a ton in regards to their precision and in regards to conducting the right actions if you are telling them what tools they have available, right? And we are going to get into the tools themselves in a couple of seconds. All right, so I'm telling it what tools they have available. And the first thing is an Airtable search, right? And this can be obviously your, I don't know, Supabase database. This can be an MySQL database, whatever you have in your system infrastructure. Then we have a Google Calendar, right? And we have a Google Calendar subnode or tool, which is able to create an event. And then we have one which is also a Google Calendar, which is able to get events, right? And then I'm giving it a little description what this very tool is able to do and when the agent should use it, right? Now, your response will be directly forwarded to the customer, so do not respond using any information or explanations, you know, something like, all right, sure, I'm happy to answer the customer's question, and then it actually answers, right? So we don't want to have that. And then also every subsequent message will be coming from the customer directly. And this is also an important part, because if I close this again, then remember, we have talked about this in a couple of previous videos as well, that chronologically, the system message is the very first message we are sending over to the AI agent, right? Then the subsequent messages all are coming from the user message right here, right? So in this case, we are using the chat trigger node, right? So this is the first system message. Then everything that comes after this will be coming from the user himself from the front end. All right, I'm going to rename this AI agent to Chatbot agent, and you can call it whatever you prefer. I'm going to close this, and the very first thing, obviously, within the agent is that we have to give them an ALLM, right? So that it's able to actually respond. I'm choosing OpenAI right here, and this is already connected to my account. It's using GPT 4.1 mini by default. I'm going to switch this to 5 mini. Choose 5 mini right here. I'm going to close this. Then I'll also rename the subnode right here to GPT-5 mini, because this is something that I like to do so that I immediately know what model is connected to that very agent. I'm going to save this. And now we're already getting into the tools themselves. But before we do, actually, what we can do, you don't have to do this, but it's quite helpful, especially in a live system, obviously, is that we want to give it memory, right? And we are not going to get into the other memories, right, that are listed right here. And I have done this in a previous video as well. If you want to get into agent memories, we have used Postgres and Supabase. This is not something that we need to do right now. We're going to just use the simple memory. And then also we are going to keep the default settings. The only thing that we are going to change is the context window length. We're just going to change it to 15, maybe 25 or something, so that we have a little more room in regards to the conversation. All right, and now we're going to get into the tools themselves. And remember, we have told it that it has access to Airtable and then to Calendar twice, right, to Google Calendar. So the first thing I want to do is to look for Airtable, and I am using the Airtable tool right here, which is the only one available. This is connected to the manufacturing inventory. I have created a specific API access for this, and if I jump back into the table itself, then this is basically giving me access to this very table, right? Back into n8n, and I'm going to keep the tool description to be set automatically by n8n itself. The resource is a record, and the operation that I want to conduct is a search, right? So we are going to use the search option. The base that I want to use is called script manufacturing inventory, and the table that we're going to use will be table run. All right, now everything else can be kept as is, and this is already it, right? And I'm going to rename this very node as well into search records in Airtable. This is fine, because this is also something that you need to keep in mind, that the name of the subnode, if I close this again, we are within the subnode of the agent, right? And the name of the subnode and also the description that we are not setting manually but automatically by n8n itself is important in regards to the agent and how confident he is to select the correct tool to do what he wants to do, right? So we have to keep that in mind. All right, next part will be to be able to interact with the calendar, right? And I'm going to open the tools panel again, going to look for Google Calendar. And this is the Google Calendar tool. Now, in regards to the credentials that is connected to my test account, the tool description, I'm going to keep this to be set automatically again. The resource is an event, so I want to be able, or I want the agent to be able to create an actual event. Then the calendar will be the default calendar as well. Now, the start and end of this very event can't obviously be now, right? Not always, obviously, because we have to keep that dynamic, right? Because we want the agent to decide when the best time for this event would be, right? We don't want it to only be able to create events right now, right? This would make sense. So what we're going to do is that we're going to delete this expression, and then what we're going to do is to use a method which is called from AI, right? And this is a very special method, right? So if I am within the expression view, then I can type in the double curly braces and then the dollar sign, and then this is giving me all the options that I have available. And if I look for from AI, then this is the method that I want to use. So what I want to do then is to give this from AI a hint what this value should be, right? And this is a little harder to understand, and you can get into more detail in the documentation of n8n itself, right? Because this from AI method can be a little confusing, but you can think of this as something like a hint that we are giving the LLM, or the agent rather, to populate this data with, right? And for instance, something that would make sense in this regard would be to call it start event, right? Or the other way around, let's use event start. So this is telling the LLM, or the agent rather, that this field right here, the start input field, should be the start of the event, right? So by naming this very field, by naming this very parameter, we are giving a hint to the AI or to the LLM how it should populate this very value behind this, right? And we're going to do exactly the same with the second parameter. So we are going to call this event end right here. And if I jump back, this is all there is for these settings. I'm going to close this again. I'm going to clean this up a little. And now create an event in Google Calendar. This is fine. And if we jump back into the prompt again of our agent, then you can see that within the create event tool description, this is what I told it. This tool enables you to create an event in Google Calendar for customers who would like to have an appointment. You will need to provide an event title, a start date, and an end date, right? So here within this prompt, I'm already telling the agent that he needs to be aware of the fact that we do need these three parameters, right? So we need an event title, we need a start date, and we need an end date, right? And from the context itself from the conversation with the user, the agent will be able to populate the data exactly with these three parameters, right? All right, so back into the calendar tool, because I just noticed that we have forgotten something reading that comment, or reading that prompt rather, is that we need to have an additional field, which is the title, right? We need to have a title of the event. So if we jump back into the calendar again, then if you remember, then we, or the agent rather, gave this very event a title itself, right? This was called video call with Aziz. All right, so back into n8n again, I want to add another field, and the title is called summary. I know this is a little confusing. I don't know why they did this, but if I choose summary, and then if I hover over this tiny title and label, and then over this tiny question mark, you can see that this is the title of the event, right? And I'm going to paste, or I'm going to use the same method again as we did before. So from AI, and this time I'm going to say title, or rather event, event title. And this is how I'm going to use this. All right, so this is already it in regards to the settings of the calendar node. Going to close this again. And the next thing that we're going to do is to use the get event from Google Calendar as well, and then we are basically done with all the tools. All right, so I'm going to look for Google Calendar again. And this time we have, well, obviously the same settings, but this time we don't want to use the resource create event, but we want to use the operation get many events, right? And we're going to choose the same calendar as before. And now we could limit the number of events it is able to retrieve from Google Calendar. And now again, it is asking us for a time frame basically, right? So after and before. And now we're using the same method again, or the same tactic again, by using the from AI method. So double curly braces and the dollar sign from AI. And this is event after, or date after rather, and then the before would be the same, double curly braces, dollar sign. I'm looking for from AI, and then within the parentheses I need to use the single quotes or double quotes, and then I can just say again, this is the date before. And this is already it. And this will basically give us a time, or the AI, the possibility to pull a time frame, right? So you don't have to go back historically to, I don't know, the last 10 years or something. All right, so this is it. I'm going to close this. I'm going to tidy this up. And now we already are basically done with the whole flow. Now, if this video was helpful so far, then I would highly appreciate if you first of all subscribe to this channel and then obviously liked and shared this video. This would very much help me out. And then second of all, I am building Script AI School, right? And this is the place for you to go if you would like to get into more depth in regards to building AI agent, into n8n, into RAG systems, into building chatbots, what we're doing today, right? So now this will be a paid community sooner or later, but at the time of this recording, it is still free. So don't miss out on this. If you join today, it will be free for you forever. All right, so the last thing for us to do is to test this flow, and I am going to open up the chat trigger node again, and now I'm going to take the chat URL and I'm going into the HTML file which is powering this very site, and I'm going to replace the URL in the background and we will see what it looks like. All right, so I replaced it now, and let's just see what happens. I'm going to reload the page. And now you can already see that it changed in regards to the styling, right? And if I open this up, then now you can see hi there, start a chat. And these are basically the default settings, right? Because I haven't customized it yet, but still the functionality should be there. So hi, how can you help me? And now it's giving me quite an extensive answer, which is welcome to Script Manufacturing. I can help with things like search our product inventory, provide pricing, and so on and so forth. And let's take a look into n8n. And I'm going to close the chat trigger node and let's go into the executions. And here you can now see that this very flow was just exactly what has been conducted, right? So I have received a chat message and then the agent itself provided the answer to this, right? So hi, welcome to Script Manufacturing. I can help with things like and so on and so forth. So fantastic. This is working. And let's try to actually pull some data out of the database. I'm going back into the front end and I'm going to tell it let's check the database itself. Let's take a different product than last time, flat washer, whatever that is. Do you have flat washers? And this is the answer that I got. Yes, we have flat washers in stock available right now. Flash washer M3. There are actually two. Let's take a look. There are M3s and M8. Pricing is 9 cents and 14 cents each. Let's check this. So I'm going to look for flat washer and there's an M8. Yes, and then there is an M3 right here, right? And it's 9 cents, the M3 is 9 cents, and the M8 is actually 14 cents. So the data itself was perfectly correct, and this is exactly what we were looking for. All right, fantastic. All right, now as for the last part, because as you have seen, if I jump back into the front end, then this looks quite different, obviously, than the one that I showed you before, right? And this has to do with what we are seeing right here. If you remember, and if we jump back into the last document in regards to the npm JS docs, then you can see that we only have used this very part, right? And add the following code to your HTML plet, and we have basically skipped the part B. And this is something that you can and should use if you want to further customize it. Now, getting into this part would be a little too much for this video, but what I can tell you is that you can use the very options that you see down here, and these options will enable you to, for instance, change the initial messages, right? As you can see here, it says hi there, then we have this wave emoji icon, and then we have my name is Nathan, how can I assist you today, right? And if you take a look into this very term right here, create chat, then you have seen this, or we have seen this already, which is part of this very part right here. Right, we have this create chat as well. So if you want it, right, you can just take this very code snippet again, and I'm going to jump into a code editor again, and I'm going to open up a new file, and I'm going to paste this very code in here. Remember, this is the part where we changed our production URL. And now if I jump back into the npm docs and I'm going to scroll down again, then you have all these options down here, right? So you can do a lot with this in regards to customizations. So let's say if I wanted to change the initial messages, then what I can do is that I will just copy and paste this very part, and I'm going to paste this part right after the webhook URL. So this is where I would place this, right? So instead of the initial message right here, I could say hi there. I could say hello or whatever, hello, or let's say welcome. And my name is, or let's say I'm the Script Manufacturing, I don't know, helper or something. Going to save this, and now I'm going to add this very part that we just copy and pasted into this file right here, again into the backend file, right, that we have seen here. So I'm going to add this into the very code snippet, and then I'm just going to paste the part that we have just copied, and welcome on the Script Manufacturing helper right here, and then we will save this. And if I go back into this file right here, then let's just see what happens. I'm going to refresh the page, and remember, this is the default setting. I'm going to refresh the page right here, and now you can see that I didn't change the header right here. I confused it with the actual actual message because it's the initial message, and this one is the part that we have just changed, right? So it's welcome, and then I'm the script manufacturing helper. So these are the actual messages, not the header right here. I mixed those two up, but this is the way how you can basically customize your complete chatbot right here, right? So you take a look into the documentation of the NPM, and then you can see how you can basically customize this step by step. All right, back into n8n, into the editor. As you can see, this is a quite short flow, right? And this is not something that is so hard to build, and we have gone through all the different settings. You might have seen that we do need to take a deeper look into the from AI part, you know, this method. This is a little special, but other than this, these are literally just 2 nodes plus obviously the subnodes that we have right here. But this is a really powerful setup already, right? And you can expand this to your liking and to your specific context, right? All right, so if this was helpful, then I hope to see you next time, and thanks for your attention. See ya. Bye.